Hello, and welcome to episode 16 of Progress Diaries, where I'm working on breaking my current official record for multi-blind. In this episode, I'll reflect on why my results this week are getting worse and worse. Last episode was quite a high point, as I had reached a huge improvement of time per pass at 14.6 seconds per pass. However, this week I have been slowly getting slower and slower, with some of my attempts reaching as high as 17 seconds per pass on average. In the last episode, I had mentioned that my priority had been decreasing the time of my first passes. However, as I continued to do so, my times began to suffer. At first, my reviews were getting slower because the memo wasn't as solid, but now the attempts as a whole began to get worse, with me forgetting multiple cubes and getting even 10 or more DNFs. At first, I was worried that I may be forcing the first pass too much and getting a bit tired. But after analyzing my attempts a bit more, I realized that this wasn't the problem, and I was able to discover what was causing me to slow down. Before I talk about exactly what was slowing me down, I just wanted to quickly mention that when I say I was analyzing my attempts, what I mean in this case was I sat down and I tried to memorize a single cube as if I was in the middle of a multi-blind attempt. But then I stopped in the middle and tried to focus on what exactly I was doing in my brain, and if I was doing any bad habits. Turns out that it was a simple bad habit that was leading to my decreased performance. I wasn't doing what I call loci pre-syncing before each cube. Since I started multi-blind, I have struggled a lot with traveling quickly before locations, as well as with concentrating on the locations while I memorized. I'm not sure if this has to do with me not being able to visualize, or if it's simply not something I am very skilled with, but I have always had to do a lot of practice just to improve on this skill. One thing that I do which helps me to concentrate well on the location while memorizing is what I call loci pre-syncing. This is just a term that I invented since I haven't heard anyone talking about this, but it's basically having a certain way of thinking about each location, which allows me to always concentrate on the location from the same perspective. And this perspective could have to do with the size of the location, the distance or direction of approach. By doing this for each location, it becomes easier for me to think of the location while I memorize a cube, and then attach the story of that cube to the specific location. If this topic is something that you also struggle with, please let me know. I'd be happy to make a more in-depth video discussing this in the future if that would be of interest. But going back to my attempts, I realized that in the pursuit of speed during my first passes, I was skipping the loci pre-syncing, and basically just thinking about the location after I read the cube corresponding to that location. This led to much weaker links and overall decreased recall during every review and the final execution. Now that I found out what was causing me to get slower, I'm trying to actively work on recovering my loci pre-syncing, and also trying to get back to progressing. The attempt in the background is a 43 cube attempt using my second palace. After getting a lot of very slow times this week, this attempt felt like I was finally starting to recover and getting back to doing loci pre-syncing properly. The time per pass was around 16.8 seconds per cube, which is still a bit slower than I'd like, but I'm happy to be in the right direction again. Execution was 28.4 seconds per cube, which is not the best for me, but the accuracy was quite nice. Once again, 39 out of 43. But the total score was 29 points because 3 cubes were solved over the hour. This next week, I will continue to focus on working on good memorization habits, and hopefully I'll be able to push this palace and my third palace to sub-hour soon. Thank you for watching.